big shout out and thank you to today's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace.com is the easiest way to start a website. Thank you, Squarespace. A $130 Phono preamp with tubes that's claimed to be designed in the US. Is it? I don't know. What are we talking about today? Ampapa. Or Ampapa. A1. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about this $130 Phono preamp that may or may not be designed in the US. So, the A1 is a Phono preamp with tone controls. It's a headphone amplifier, and it has tubes, and it comes with GE tubes. These are the GE, I guess it's 5654W. It says they're made in the USA. They look legit. Isn't it a terrible time when we have to be like, hey, is this a fake tube or not? Do people fake tubes? Are there counterfeit tubes? Anyway, it comes with GE tubes, which is a nice touch. So this is what it looks like. It actually looks pretty cool. On the top there you have the tubes, obviously. Over here you have the main volume control. So I don't think there's a fixed gain on this, obviously. There's a volume control, which means variable gain. So it means there's not going to be like 42 dB set gain, or 46, or 48. It's all going to depend on this. I was a little bit concerned that if I max out the volume here, whatever gain that is, that there could be some clipping and distortion. I didn't really notice that, but for me personally, if I'm running this as my main Phono preamp, I'm probably not going past 8. Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest and probably the cheapest way to start your own website if you're not a crazy internet website expert like me. I was able to create a website in less than 3 hours, and this was before Squarespace ever even sponsored the channel. So I was using Squarespace even back then. If you're a photographer or videographer, don't put your portfolio up on Instagram or Facebook. Put it on your own website, jacksoldtirephotography.com or .net. They have dozens of templates that you can choose from that do most of the heavy lifting for you. The only thing you have to do is go into the text box, change the text, drop in your own pictures, and Bob's your uncle. So go to squarespace.com/cheapaudioman and use the code cheapaudioman to get 10% off your first order. Here's the cool thing about Squarespace. They have different support videos, different support articles that help you do anything. If you want to do an email campaign, no worries. You got email campaign videos and support articles. Do you want to open an online store? Well, Squarespace has you covered. They have videos and support articles for your online store. Squarespace does everything you could possibly need from a website and makes it way easier to do it. Anybody, and I mean anybody, could design their own website in a few minutes, depending upon how complicated you want it to be. So go to squarespace.com/cheapaudioman and use the code cheapaudioman to get 10% off your first order or domain reservation. Thank you, Squarespace. Then the tone controls, treble right here and bass right here. If you want no gain, you got to keep it in the 12 o'clock position. So here's the problem with this stuff. And this it's not just unique to Ampapa. Ampapa. I love this. Ampapa. Love this name. It's not unique to just Ampapa. Depending upon where the knob sits is going to be where 12 o'clock actually is. So if you look at this, when I go down to 0 on treble, it's actually below 0. So if I'm going up to 12 o'clock or 5 right here, I'm actually too high. So I need to come back one click. The good thing is this is clicky. So there are, I guess, divisions in the span of the knobs. Now the bass, that one's pretty good. So that comes down and it lines up right there with 0. What you can do though, is you can take off the knobs. Now these knobs are really good. They are knurled metal, I think metal. They feel kind of like metal. I put a magnet up to these, but I couldn't really figure it out. If this is plastic, this is one of the best plastic jobs I've ever seen. Anyway, there's a set screw right here. So you have to put in a little Allen wrench, loosen it up, and then you can probably line this up back to 0. So where the arrow actually points at 0 instead of kind of below 0. So it's one click. If we can get that click right, then we're actually at 0. Is that a big deal? Not really. If you know how off you are, then you can just compensate for it here. But I would rather that, it was lined up. So right there you got the Ampapa logo right there on the front. Now around here you see these holes. I'll get some other shots of it, but these actually light up. So there's 2 colors of LEDs right here. There's an orange and a green. And not only does it light up the tubes that color, but it also lights up the exterior of the enclosure. The controls right here are just a simple on-off toggle, and these toggles are nice. Then you have line in or phono, and then down here you have the color of the LED, and you can actually turn it off. If you're in the middle right there, it's off. Boop, boop. And right here you have your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. On the back you have phono in with the ground right there. And then over here you have a line in. So if you have, let's say, a DAC or something like that, you can put it in there, or anything with a RCA analog connection. And then over here you have the RCA out. It's powered by 12 volts, and the power supply is 12 volt, 1.5 amp. I was a bit impressed with the wall wart simply because it was actually branded Ampapa. So a lot of times these power supplies are probably the same power supply, but some companies go to the trouble of actually having a sticker printed up that has their manufacturer logo on it or something like that. This does. So it means there was some care taken in the design of this. And that leads me to, is this designed in the US? If you go to the Amazon listing, it makes it pretty clear, and I think it's one of the selling features of this amplifier, that it is designed in the US. However, I'm not questioning, I kind of am, because the verbiage, the wording on their listing on Amazon and even on their packaging here seems a little bit off. It says designed by Ampapa in Washington, US. Usually it's Washington State, or it's Seattle or whatever. I looked up their address. They do have a Seattle address. But then over here, there's something in here that talks about the UK, about Evatost Consulting. It's curious to me. I don't know what this means. And then there's another address for Germany. So we have a Wales address. We have a Frankfurt address in Germany. And then on the website or on Amazon, let me just tell you what the wording says. I don't know. The wording seems off. Advanced and considerate design concept. A1 is the first product carefully designed by our senior audio experts in Washington after lots of researches, who are always devoted to exploring the design and craft innovation of hi-fi and providing extreme listening experience one for audiophiles via our top-class audio devices. Okay. Then it says unprecedented surpass in functions and looking. Advanced design and high-end components to build low-noise integrated circuit and ensure clean sound. Solid aluminum knobs, unique shell made of aluminum with whole die casting, molding, and CNC machined. All styles of desktop space can be decorated perfectly with A1's warm orange or cool green lights. So, I get what they're saying, but they're not saying it like an American would say it, or at least any American that I know. So I'm not necessarily putting that as like this is a bad thing. What I am saying is, if you're going to use designed in Washington, USA as a feature or as a reason to buy this amplifier, somebody should probably, I don't know, reread the product listing on Amazon to make it a little bit, I don't know. There's no way that somebody from Seattle wrote that description. Okay? So, is it designed in Washington, USA? Maybe. Overall, the build quality, actually pretty good. I've got no real complaints about this. Headphone amp, a little bit underpowered, but it's more of a convenience here. It's 125 milliwatts and a 32 ohms. So it's not going to drive the most power hungry of all headphones, but it's there, it works. This is somewhat of a preamp. So with the volume control here for something, here's the thing that always, It always confuses me because while the feature set is really awesome on this, who is going to be close enough to their turntable setup to be able to control volume right there? Because this can be a phono preamp and a preamp right here. I guess you'd have to be close to use headphones. I don't know. Always been a little bit confused as why one would have a headphone amp connected to a phono preamp. Because I'm never really listening to my turntable in the near field. When I'm listening to a turntable, I'm sitting back and relaxing. That may be a me problem. Maybe a lot of people listen to a turntable with a phono preamp right there. Okay? All right. Good design, solid build quality, looks really interesting. With the LEDs, it looks really interesting too. So how does it sound? I think it sounds really good. It's clean. It's detailed. I was listening to a lot of Pearl Jam. Rear View Mirror. It's a double album set. I think a Walmart exclusive. A Walmart exclusive. I like Walmart exclusives because they're pretty cheap and oftentimes they sound pretty good. This one, a little bit dry, a little bit flat. However, with the A1, I just messed with the tone controls a little bit. And you don't have to be heavy-handed with these at all. A couple of clicks. So it was a little bit dry, so what I did was I brought up treble just one click, one little click, liven things up a bit. So I really like the fact that it has tone controls. Other than that, I think it sounds clean. I think it's going to do the job for 99%. Well, let me walk that back. 95. Okay, 90%. If you're not crazy into vinyl, I think this phono preamp is going to be great. Good enough. Awesome. It's got another analog input. It's got a headphone amp. There's a lot of features. Some of these features on these type of amplifiers perplex me a little bit. And really, if I'm being honest, outside of the design of the box, like there's nothing new here. It's nice. It's in a probably better enclosure than a lot of the other phono preamps out there from Fozzy Audio or IEMA or anybody, Duke Audio. But those are all literally just repackaged. They're the same product, just repackaged or rebadged for different manufacturers. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing. I think my issue with this product is when you say designed in the US, I don't know, like this legit looks like a Duke Audio with a little bit of a different enclosure, which again is fine. I think if you're going to claim designed in the US, then you probably should try to differentiate. I'm no electrical engineer, but I'm pretty sure the circuit in here is probably exactly the same with any other phono preamp that has tone controls, things like that. I think this is a good product. I think it's fairly priced. It's more expensive than a lot of the other Chinese phono preamps out there. But even though it doesn't really differentiate itself from other products, it does differentiate itself from other products and the aesthetics of it. So I would have no problem recommending this at all. I think there might be a 5% off coupon or something like that right now. But the Ampapa A1 is pretty cool. I think they need to get somebody to write better descriptions on Amazon, though. So, if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Patreon-only Zooms, Patreon-only Facebook, Patreon-only Discord. You can also use the affiliate links. If you click and buy, I do get a commission, but it doesn't cost you any more, so it's a great way to support the channel. Also, sign up for Amazon Music, Tidal, or Roon. Links in the description. Even if you quit, I still get a couple of bucks. You can also use the thanks button right below this video next to the share button. You can buy me a cup of coffee, but don't feel compelled to buy me anything. So, don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen, maybe through your Ampapa A1, and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.